Hi, I'm Raymond. You are watching RPAD TV 3000. Why 3000? Why not? Well, obviously, it's because I love you 3000. That is the real reason. With me today is the excellent Paul Semel from paulsemel.com,
Hello.
veteran video game journalist, all around swell guy, and the kingpin of Mid-Wilshire.
That makes me sound like a criminal enterprise.
Are you not? I thought that was my impression the whole time.
Yes.
So, Paul, what is going on paulsemel.com these days?
Well, let's see. Today I ran a review of a new jazz album by Ivo Perlman and Nate Woolley. I also interviewed a guy earlier this week that wrote the Pokemon baking cookbook.
I saw that.
In case you ever wanted to bake Pikachu into a cupcake.
I do. Ash's Pikachu specifically.
It was weird though. It's a tropical cupcake, so it's not like buttercream. It's got like mangoes in it or something. And then next week I got a couple reviews coming up. Spider-Man 2 is going to run on Monday.
Ooh.
And then depending on when I can get it done, probably Tuesday or Wednesday is Borderlands 3 is finally coming to Switch.
All right. So if you want to check out those articles, head on over to paulsemel.com for excellent reviews, interviews, features, and more. It is a fantastic independent website that you should support because Paul is awesome and he was kind enough to join us. So, Paul, I wanted to talk to you. There have been strong rumors about Taylor Swift playing Dazzler in the Deadpool 3 movie.
Right.
For those kids that might not be familiar with Dazzler, she was a comic book character that was a pop star / secret mutant. She wore roller skates for I guess that was time period correct in the 80s.
Yeah.
And yeah, she looked like that. The roller skates were awesome. She later became a more serious fighting mutant. Her power is that she can transmute sound to hard light. So in her pop career, she used it to make sparkly light shows. When she fought criminals, she would make hard light objects and beat the crap out of them. Totally love Taylor Swift for this. I think that is a fine role for her. So that seemed to be all rumor until, I think this was 2 weeks ago, Taylor Swift was spotted with Deadpool, Mrs. Deadpool, and Wolverine, just giving more credence to this rumor that she will be playing Dazzler. So I wanted to see first what you thought of Taylor Swift as Dazzler. Does that work for you?
It does. And I'm not just saying that because I'm afraid of Swifties. I think she would be, I'm not genuinely saying that she would be really, really good in that role. Because I don't think they would give her it would be like a huge part of the whole movie. It would just be like a little part. But she acted in something before. She was in
the Valentine's Day movie. That's what it was. Yeah, Gary Marshall ensemble.
Right. And I think she's been in some other things here and there. Although oddly, she's never been on Law and Order, which I think is weird because she loves Law and Order. Like her cat is named Olivia for Olivia Benson. So, and Mariska Hargitay is part of the squad, which I know you and I are as well, but that's, not everybody gets to be part of the squad.
Yeah.
So I think her as Dazzler, I think that'd be really good because also you could have her sing, and that would be much better than getting like an actress
and then doing voiceover or dubbing.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you could have her just do her own songs, and then of course like it becomes the marketing thing of like, oh, featuring new exclusive songs by Taylor Swift, and
right.
And then they could do like a version of the movie called Deadpool 3 Taylor's version, where it's like
So this got me thinking about different celebrities that are not actors for the most part, who would make great superheroes or supervillains. Before I get to that, I just want to take this time for a little tangent and say that I hate Travis Kelce, or I don't know how to say his name. That guy sucks. Just because my dream is to be a kept man by Taylor Swift, to do all her bidding and make stupid videos and just wait on her for the rest of my life. That is the dream. But back to the show. I wanted to talk about 10 celebrities that you think would make great superheroes or supervillains. We're going to do alternating picks, 10 to 1, of course. Paul, why don't you take the even numbers? Who do you have? Who do you have first?
Are we going in reverse order then, I guess? Okay, hang on. I gotta reorient my little thing. So the first thing that I thought of is somebody who I had actually thought of for Wonder Woman at one point. Like before Gal Gadot got hired, I was trying to, I don't know why, I was trying to think of like who they could get to play Wonder Woman. And one of the people that I thought of, because she looks the part, is Katy Perry.
Yeah.
The problem is I couldn't really imagine Katy Perry beating the crap out of people. I didn't imagine her towering over people, having that commanding presence that Wonder Woman has.
What? You don't hear her roar?
Yeah, but not in like the badass, like, you know, Lord of the Rings with a sword whacking, you know,
okay,
Heracles across the face kind of fight.
I gotcha.
But when you had brought this idea up to me about finding celebrities to play parts in superhero movies, I don't know why I thought of Zatanna from DC Comics. Obviously, there's a physical resemblance there.
Yeah, she has the same
black hair and
hair.
You know,
that's what I was thinking.
The very sparkling eyes. But also, I think that Katy Perry would be really good playing that kind of role where, like, she's doing magic and she has to be a little bit ethereal, but she's also she's not flighty. Like Zatanna is not like a Stevie Nicks kind of like, ooh,
yeah.
Which she's like very like, you know, again, she's got very sort of strength about her as a person and a character. And I see Katy Perry having that as well. So I think she would be good to play that role.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I think for her, she's a much better fit as Zatanna than as Wonder Woman.
Oh, God, yeah.
Zatanna has that like showbiz fabulous thing going on. And
right,
that's all about Katy. Katy puts on a great show. If you've seen her, she could even get Left Shark and Right Shark again to make a cameo. That would be awesome. So moving on to my first pick at number 9, I picked Jade Cargill, who many people know from AEW. Well, I should say many pro wrestling fans know her from AEW, and she recently was signed by WWE. And I want her to play Nubia, who I learned was the first Black female superhero in DC Comics. She was first written about in Wonder Woman in 1973. And she's been rewritten in different roles. Originally, she ended up being Diana's fraternal sister. I don't know how that happens in the Amazon world. Later, she was kind of written as Diana's rival. Then later, she was written to be the Wonder Woman from the future. And in 2023, when Wonder Woman's mother died, or no, she came back to our world, to man's world, as they call it, she was anointed queen of the Amazons. So she is the current ruler of the Amazonian kingdom. And if you look at Jade Cargill, I mean, this woman is the closest thing to a real life superhero I've ever seen. I mean, those abs are ridiculous, but they exist. I've seen them on my television. But yeah, she is super. Thanks for asking. Sorry. And I think she would make a phenomenal Nubia. And also I can get Jason Lee asking his line from Chasing Amy, what's a Nubian? That would be fantastic. Any thoughts on Jade as Nubia there?
Well, I am not a wrestling fan, as you know.
I do know.
So I'm simply going by your photo. Yeah, I mean, she'd have to change her hair color, but I like the hair on the Nubian lady. I mean, that natural. Yeah. You know, I mean, that's some hair.
Yes, it absolutely is. Speaking of hair, I think this ties in to your next pick.
Kind of, yeah. So this next one. Okay, the other day I was watching Harley Quinn season 3 on Blu-ray, which just came out, and there's a scene in that, of course, where the Mad Hatter shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very, for people who don't know, he's this guy. He basically makes this whole character about the Mad Hatter from, the Alice in Wonderland book. And he always wears the top hat. But his whole thing is like he puts mind controlled things in hats for some odd reason. And
like you do.
Like you do. Because, nobody ever takes the hat off. And so in thinking about who could play him, I immediately thought of Weird Al Yankovic. And largely it was because of his voice. Like, I could see Weird Al doing justice to this Weasley guy's voice.
Okay, yeah.
He'd have to shave, maybe they'd have to shave the mustache off or something. And the funny thing is, when you shave Weird Al's mustache off and hide his hair, he does not look like Weird Al.
No.
Like, he looks very, very different. But I think that he would have the flamboyant style. I think he would do a really, really good job with it. And if you want reference to what I think his voice would sound like, go find the episodes of Teen Titans Go where Weird Al does the voice of Darkseid. Because it's just hilarious the way he doesn't sound like Weird Al, but like the voice he does is just fantastic.
Interesting.
So it's an out there choice, but it's one of those things. You know what it is? It would be like when they said Daniel Radcliffe was going to play Weird Al in a movie, and everybody went like, "What?" And then they thought about it for like 5 minutes, and then they saw the trailer, and they're like, "Oh, this is really good."
Everything worked about that except the height, because Daniel's like 5'6" or something.
Okay.
And Weird Al's like I believe he is over 6 feet, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I don't know.
But yeah, Danny Boy there. But I think he killed that role. I love that movie, and I don't think it got the credit it deserved.
No.
That pool party scene was just ridiculously phenomenal. And like all the B tier or obscure celebrities they portrayed for that was and it ended up being the big get was John Deacon, bass player of Queen.
Right. There's a rumor that Radcliffe is going to be in Deadpool 3.
Oh.
And one of the possibilities, of course, is that he's playing a different version of Wolverine, which I would absolutely love. I know that sounds weird, but like I could totally see him pull that off. Especially if you've ever watched him in that show that he does. Oh God, I forget the name of the show that it's on like TBS right now. It's like this really weird anthology show. Like then the recent one was like a post-apocalyptic, and it stars that really cool woman from the movie Blockers, Gwendolyn Shami or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but
totally unaware of this show, but it sounds incredible.
It's a really weird show. In the first episode, the first season, it was like he worked for God.
Okay.
And God was Steve Buscemi. And in like every season, it's like a different like total setup.
Did God come down to earth and hello, fellow kids?
No, he didn't do that. But
Carlos says miracle workers.
Miracle workers. Thank you. Yeah.
That sounds incredible. I would have thought Miracle Workers was about like Helen Keller or some shit.
No.
But I love the acting choices Daniel Radcliffe has made post Harry Potter. He's done some weird things like Swiss Army Man, that play where he gets naked on a horse, and apparently he has an enormous dong. So he probably did that on purpose, just to be like, I might be 5'6", but so is my schlong. I don't know. And
I always appreciate people who do that, who are like, I've hit it big. Now I can do whatever I want. I mean, Rush were like that. Metallica are like that. Like, Leonardo DiCaprio is kind of like that too. Where like, they're just like, I don't have anything else to prove. I don't need to make any more money.
Right. But with Leo, he usually does the typical star thing where it's like one for you, then one for me. He'll do what the studio wants, then he'll do the weird thing that he wants to do.
Well, except that he's never really done another like romantic movie like Titanic. Like the movies that he's done that have been big and popular are like movies that wouldn't necessarily be thought of as big are going to be big and popular.
Okay.
Like Scorsese, like he does Scorsese movies.
Yeah.
It helps them become big and popular because people love the guy. But like The Departed, I mean, I don't know. Was that ever really going to be that big? Was that going to be, that seemed to me like to be a movie that was going to be a surprise. Or right. the no Christopher Nolan movie.
You're right.
You know, I mean, that's a weird movie. That's a weird artsy science fiction movie that just happened to get a lot of attention because Leonardo DiCaprio was in it.
Well, I mean, to be honest, for me, he peaked when he was young, you know, Growing Pains. No, yeah. I'm kidding. Well, no, I honestly loved like Basketball Diaries. I thought he was phenomenal in Gilbert Grape.
That's true.
That thing where he plays that French poet opposite David Thewlis. Love that movie. Total Eclipse?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Okay.
But getting back to our picks, my next pick is for Bishop, the mutant from the future who comes back to the past to be all angry and angsty and kill the person who will destroy all of mutant kind. So you need a big, menacing man for this. So I thought of the boxer, Deontay Wilder. I mean, he's a heavyweight boxer, so obviously he is big and menacing. He is good at posing with his mouth very open, like Bishop is here. So he has that ability. So I could picture him totally kicking ass as Bishop in a movie. I think he would be great. They did have Bishop cast in that Days of Future Past movie, which sucked. But I don't know. That movie was weird because they did weird things with his powers. Like he didn't really kick ass, and he was just like kind of transmuting stuff.
Right.
And then also that movie sucked. So hopefully Deontay Wilder can come along and play a better version of Bishop. What do you make of that pick, sir?
I don't really know this boxing person.
Paul is not a sports guy, if you have not figured this out.
I'm just going on what images you've shown me, and it seems to fit. I mean, he certainly isn't anything like the character Carlos. I mean, he certainly isn't anything like the character in that movie, of course. But the character in the movie seemed kind of non-existent almost. He didn't really do much.
Yes.
So, and I liked that movie more than you did, but I didn't.
I liked like half of it. I think there was half that was really, really good and half that was just garbage. And I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's some really fun stuff like with, Pietro and.
Yeah, that scene was cool. It had Roberta Flack in the soundtrack, so that's a win right there. I thought it should have gotten an Oscar for best use of Roberta Flack.
That is a category, by the way.
It is a category.
Yeah.
Now, guys, before we move on with our picks, I wanted to remind you that we have a giveaway for 3 Nintendo Switch codes. I will tell you more about it as we flash back into the past. Hey guys, for this episode of Arpad TV 3000, I am giving away 3 copies of Counterattack Uprising for Nintendo Switch. My friends at Novi Unlimited were kind enough to provide these game codes. Counterattack Uprising is a space shooter that, well, let's take a look at the trailer. Should I do voiceover? No, I'm totally doing voiceover. So check this out. Some people call these shooters, shmups, bullet hell, but I call it bullet heaven. I would totally pick random ship. That's just my style. But this game looks awesome. It looks intense, action-packed, thrilling. And my reflexes are probably too old to do well in this game, which is why you should win a copy of it. To win a copy of Counterattack Uprising for Nintendo Switch, All you have to do is subscribe to the RPAD TV Facebook page and leave a comment on this thread. It's as simple as that. Big thanks again to Novi Unlimited for providing these codes. And now back to our show. And we are back. So thanks to Novi Unlimited again. And there will be a lot more giveaways in the very near future. I have partnered up with Turtle Beach to give away some phone accessories. Here is a gamepad for your iPhone. I got some microphones. I got a bunch of gaming headsets. All of this can be yours. I will post more details later, but I'm going to focus on Facebook and Twitch for the next maybe 4 or 5 giveaways. So I hope you can hang out, enter those, and I hope you win. Now, Paul, let us get to our number 6 pick. And I thought this one was really interesting. I think you will sadly have to do some explaining to the kids here of who this man is.
Right. So the superhero in question, of course, is the Vulture. And the man in the black and white in the suit is William S. Burroughs, who is one of the beat writers. He was a contemporary of guys like Jack Kerouac and Ginsberg. He wrote Junkie. He wrote Naked Lunch. He's an iconic and influential author. And he always looked like a cranky old man. He literally, I've seen photos of him from when he was like a kid. And he was like, oh, he was one of those people who just looks like an old man. Like my friend Rob's dad was like that. Like I saw pictures of Rob's dad, like when he was like in high school. And I'm like, God, he looks like he's 60. And vultures always look like that. Like with the exception of when, I was about to say when Diane Keaton played him in the Spider-Man movie.
Diane Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
That would have been very different.
Yes, very different and not related, I don't think. But when Michael Keaton played him in the Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie, that's literally the only time that this character ever looked like he was healthy and not a heroin junkie with a really bad attitude. I don't think William Burroughs would do this in a million years if he was still alive. Yeah. I don't think you could get him to do it, but it would be fantastic if you could. He always had this really great voice. He could be menacing. He sounded menacing. Like I have some spoken word albums of his, and he always talked like this. And you could just see him saying, Spider-Man, give me back my junk.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I had a very different take on Vulture. Like, I'll bring up the picture again just to get the visual. But in my head, I think it would be hilarious if you had Larry David playing the Vulture. Okay, Spider-Man, pretty good. It's like, and then he could do the head tilting stare. I think that would work. I think it would be the most hilarious Vulture ever.
That sounds like a Robot Chicken sketch.
That could work as a Robot Chicken sketch.
Yeah.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to my next pick, I picked Ivana Sakno as Silver Sable. She is a relatively new actor, at least in the nerd space, but she featured recently in Ahsoka as Shin Hati, the in-betweener Jedi Sith person who is the apprentice to Baylan Skoll. And I want her to play Silver Sable, who comes from this fictitious Eastern European country in the Marvel universe. I think it's Simcaria. I don't know how to pronounce it in real life because it's not a real country. But she originally popped up in the Spider-Man comic books. She's kind of like this mercenary, a merc for hire, but she's also a very froofy, posh woman. And let me throw up the picture here. We know what Ivana looks like with white hair because we've seen her do that in Ahsoka. We know that she can do stunts and fighting. So in my head, she is perfect for Silver Sable. She's got the hair. She's got the moves. She's got the Eastern European accent. What more do you need? I ask you this, Paul Semel.
See, this is the problem when you take the assignment seriously and I take it as a goof. Because you ended up finding somebody who would actually be good in the role, and I mentioned some dead writer who would never do it in a million years.
Yeah, but then I followed it up with Larry David as a super villain. So.
Yeah, I could definitely see her doing it. I think I said this to you once before that I want her to team up with the woman who plays Nurse Chapel, Jess Bush on Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and the girl who plays Wednesday's little buddy on the show Wednesday, because the three of them they look like they could play sisters. They look like, I want them to do, I don't know, some movie in which they play sisters.
Little sisters, but with violence. Little women, but with violence.
Maybe they could do like a weird Charlie's Angels spin-off where they're all sisters.
Are they rebooting that?
Charlie's
Angels? They reboot it? Yeah.
I don't know. That last one didn't do very well.
Yeah, because it was not good.
No. Although I like the people in it. Everybody who was in that movie's super cool, because like you have like Patrick Stewart was in it, and Kristen Stewart, and Ella Balinski, who I think is really, really cool, and the director, who's Elizabeth Banks, was in it also, and she directed, and I think she's absolutely super cool.
Yes.
It just didn't.
Any woman that would make a Cocaine Bear movie is good in my books.
Yeah, there you go. I haven't even seen Cocaine Bear, and I respect her for doing that.
Now, I love your number 4 pick just because it's so close to real life. So let the people have it.
But you did do a good job in picking the photo. So my next pick is Amanda Waller, who people know from the Suicide Squad movies, in which she's played by Viola Davis, who does a fantastic job, and we're not suggesting that she should be
replaced. Yeah.
She was also, and I know we pretend like this movie didn't happen. She was also a character in the Green Lantern movie.
Oh yeah.
In which one of the few things about that movie that was halfway decent is because she was played by Angela Bassett.
Right. You weren't a fan of Arrow, but they used that character in the Arrowverse as well.
Oh, do you remember who played her in that?
I do not remember her. Cynthia Adai Robinson. I think I'm messing up her name. Okay. She was also in the new Lord of the Rings series on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, my pick to play her for this thought exercise that we are doing is Stacey Abrams.
Yes.
Who people know, she has twice run and unfortunately twice lost for governor of Georgia.
Yes.
And she is also a community organizer who has gotten a massive number of people in Georgia registered and out to vote, and has definitely, even though she was not able to help herself, she was able to help other people get elected in Georgia. And she obviously, as you can see from the comparison photo, she looks the part.
They have the same clothes already.
Yeah. Yes. But she also has very much that commanding presence about her.
Yes.
Now, the only thing is she does not come across as nearly as ruthless and mean as Amanda does.
At least in public.
Waller, yeah. I mean, Waller would cut a bitch.
Yes.
Stacey Abrams would hold off on that.
She would register a bitch to vote.
Yes. And we also know she has nerd cred because she actually turned up on an episode of Star Trek Discovery which she played the president of the Earth. Not the United States, the Earth. And she killed it. So.
I love that pick. I think that it's pretty perfect.
Yeah.
And I love that Stacey Abrams already has the clothing for it. So she doesn't have to do a whole lot there.
No.
Now, my next pick is this one might be a little wacky to some people, but I think if you give it some thought and apply some nerd logic to it, I think it works. But I am going with Rick Rubin as Odin from the Thor comics. Now, for those of you who don't know Rick Rubin, he is a longtime music producer. He got his start, I think, when he was an NYU student still, pestering the Beastie Boys to produce their album. And a lot of people know him from his work with Red Hot Chili Peppers, Metallica, Johnny Cash. Am I missing anyone? I mean, I am missing. He's done tons of work.
Tom Petty, Slayer, Jay-Z, LL Cool J, Run DMC. He produced the last Black Sabbath album with Ozzy. Johnny Cash.
Right. I said that one.
Johnny Cash. Yeah. I think those are like the big ones for Rick.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I always think of him as the Chili Peppers guy. And I like the way that he talks to them, even though they are arguably one of the biggest rock bands ever. He still talks to them like they're kids or something. Like they're talking about Soul to Squeeze. And he's like, you should have saved that song for our album instead of that bullshit Coneheads movie that you gave it to. So, I love that he was talking like, so look, he's got the white hair. He's got the beard. You stick an eye patch on that guy. And all of a sudden Asgard has the best music for all the gods. And it would be pretty awesome. Put 2 crows on him.
Yeah.
Maybe produce the Black Crows. I don't know. Let's say he did for the purposes of this episode.
You know, I think you might be right because I think that was Deaf American Records, and that was his record label.
Aha! See, I knew it subconsciously. So. Yeah, Rick Rubin he's a great man, great producer, and he would be the father of all the Asgardian gods, all the Norse gods. And apparently, like the way he lives his life now, he just walks around Malibu shirtless, doesn't give a damn about his appearance because he's Rick Rubin. He's rich and he's produced some of the biggest albums ever. Why should he?
Yeah.
And that's the attitude you need to have if you're going to be Odin. He
also has a somewhat Odin approach to producing, which is that he's very hands off.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's the thing that like when Metallica talk about him producing their album, like they were like, we didn't see him for a while. Like he would show up every once in a while, but when he would show up, he would say something and it was like really insightful and helpful and whatnot. But then he would disappear for like another 2 weeks.
Mo says, put a wig on Stone Cold Steve Austin and then have Odin. See, but that would be very different. Then you would have a more kick-ass version of the Norse gods.
Yeah.
You would be picking fights with the other gods instead of, if you have Rick Rubin in Asgard, they're just chilling out to awesome music of all sorts of genres.
Yeah.
Now, let us move on to your next pick. This is another one that I love, and we're also sticking with, although no, this is a different Enchantress, not the one from the Thor comics. This is DC Comics Enchantress.
Right. Although when you originally sent me the photos for this, you sent me a different photo of the person and the DC, the Marvel Enchantress, and she did sort of look like that, so it kind of fit too. But
she's had a lot of looks in her young years.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. She's you know, every week she turned around and she's got a different hair color. And if you haven't figured out who we're talking about the young Billie Eilish.
Yes.
Who I think could absolutely nail this role. I think the world of her. She's just a super cool person. I don't even really like her music that much. Like, it's fine. Like, but it's not my kind of thing. But I saw that she was going to be on Jimmy Kimmel like 2 nights ago. And I was like, click DVR. Just because I think she's funny and entertaining. And I could definitely see her playing this role. Like, again, like, Enchantress isn't like your Stevie Nicks-ish kind of witch. She's very different from Zatanna, of course. But, you know, I could definitely see Billie Eilish pulling it off. She would be very different than Cara Delevingne in the
Suicide Squad
movie, who's much more slinky, but that's also Cara Delevingne. She's kind of weird and slinky and and whatnot. And, you know, whereas I could see Billie Eilish almost being kind of like oh God, I'm trying to blink, like Wanda in the Marvel movies, like all that stuff with her. Like, I could see Billie Eilish, like, you know, just sort of doing that. And like,
you're picturing a lot of the Billie Eilish fingering. Is that what you're saying, Paul?
Yeah, like that kind of weird, like, you know, just do that.
Jazz hands.
Yeah, exactly. Jazz hands.
Spirit fingers.
Yeah. And again, of course, there's the marketing aspect because you get Billie Eilish to do a song for your movie.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I think the dark brooding thing works because the character also isn't she mentally unstable? Like she has a human side, and then the enchantress like takes her over.
Right.
So I could see Billy playing that up.
You could do that. You could easily do that with Billy because you get Billy to play the enchantress with black hair, and then you get her to bleach her hair and play, the human side with her blonde hair, where she looks very, very different.
Finger manipulation.
So
from the Teen Titans, Slade. Yeah. That was a great movie. Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Highly recommended.
Oh yeah. Actually, now that you say that, that would be another character she would be really good at is oh God, what is that woman's name?
Oh, Raven?
Raven.
She would be a great Raven.
Maybe Raven would, Raven might be better. The problem with me is with Raven and Beast Boy and Cyclops is the versions of those characters in my head is always Teen Titans Go. And they're always kind of goofy. So that's why I think I didn't go think of any of them for this.
I like the girl that they had in that shitty live action series where maybe like a third of the episodes were good. Did you watch any of that?
The live action Titans show?
Yeah. Because I love Nightwing so much that I would watch anything he's in, basically.
Yeah.
So it's funny you brought up Cara Delevingne. She is probably number 2 on my woman I wish would keep me. So I don't have to work and I can just make silly videos with my friends all day.
Yeah.
And I have an opening line should I ever come across her in LA.
Okay.
We both have psoriasis, so that would be my in, and I would say it totally like how a Butthead says his line, like, "Hey, you have psoriasis. I have psoriasis too. We should hook up." I would say that just to say it, with no prayer in hell of it working. But in my head, I want to see if I could do that with a straight face.
I wonder if she would get the reference.
Probably not, because
or would she call the cops?
That would be that would probably be more likely, or security, because it would be at some stupid press thing that we're in where she happened to be. So that brings us to my last pick and our final pick, and this one was easy. I went with another wrestler, Becky Lynch, Rebecca Quinn. She is known as the Irish Lass Kicker, the Man, and she has been one of the best talents, male or female, in WWE for maybe the last 5 years or more. She's just kicking ass. And I want her to play Siren. Most people know her from X Factor. She is also an Irish lass kicker. She is the daughter of Banshee, who was in the all new, all different X-Men. And was that X-Men 194 or 174 or something? She's Banshee's daughter. She has those screamy, yelly, shouty powers. As you can see, Becky already has the costume. I think she wore this outfit at a Royal Rumble or something. She has the Irish accent and she can kick ass. Not sure about her flying or singing, but we can work around that. I think this pick is, along with your Stacey Abrams pick, I think this is the easiest and most natural fit. What do you think of her, Paul? I know you don't watch the wrestling.
I could definitely see it working. And the thing is, it's interesting that like sports people have a very hard time transitioning into acting.
Right.
Very few, for every, forgive me for saying this, for every OJ, there's 6 Brian Boitanos and Brian Bosworths out there trying. But wrestling seems to be one that has produced a couple, like The Rock,
right?
Goldberg, Dave Bautista,
right? I mean, well, they're acting already,
so. Right? Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. So I think that she could actually probably pull it off better than a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, it would it would kind of depend on. I think it would have to be kind of a Drax kind of support role as opposed to
Yeah.
like the lead. You know, you wouldn't want them to make like a Siren movie. You know, but then again, I don't think anybody wants to see a Siren movie anyway. So,
No.
but I think that if you had her in a movie with like a whole bunch of like, you know, supporting role in a, you know, X-Men movie or TV show, like
I would love to see an X Factor investigation series. I think that would be really fun.
maybe,
Kind of different.
yeah,
Make it a procedural kind of thing, and it fits in with what they did.
Law
and Order Mutant Town. But Siren actually fits in with the impetus of this conversation because she is the on again, off again love interest of Deadpool. So, along with making out with Death, Deadpool also makes out with Siren. So maybe that can work. Ryan Reynolds, this is my idea. You should do it. It's interesting that you brought up athlete actors. I was thinking of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Airplane, and that was unintentionally funny. Wilt Chamberlain and Conan the Destroyer, that was not so good.
Yeah, that was not good. I think Reggie Jackson was in one of the Naked.
That's right. When he was the right fielder.
Yeah.
I must kill the queen. That's why I loved all those memes when Queen Elizabeth died. Rest in peace, ma'am. Where they had it was Reggie Jackson.
Yeah. It is, but it is interesting that like wrestlers, it's kind of like in the music world, like, you know, like if you're like a rapper, you can transition to acting super easy for some reason, but like if you're in a metal band, like
not so much.
No, I mean, you know, Lemmy never had like an acting career. Like Ozzy's never had like, you know, an acting career. And
well, John Bon Jovi had a few small roles. He tried his hand at acting.
He tried his hand at it, but
not so
he's
good.
Also not much of a metal person. So
yeah, well, he's hair metal. I don't know if that counts. No, does that offend you?
No, but you know.
You're from Jersey. Shouldn't you be supporting him?
No.
You're all about the boss.
No.
That's fair.
I did see Bon Jovi, though. I think on the Slippery When Wet tour.
Ah. In his prime, then.
Yeah. Madison Square Garden.
I did not think he would age well. But in fact, it was Richie Sambora who did not age well. That was a shame. But yeah, that is a wrap for our 10 picks for non-actor celebrities who would make excellent superheroes or supervillains. I'd love to hear some of your picks. Leave a comment. Drop us a line on Twitter, although I'm trying to move away from that platform. But yeah, leave a comment on Facebook and YouTube and let us know who you think would make excellent superheroes or supervillains in a non-traditional sort of way. And join us next week on RPAD TV 3000, where my guest will be excellent playwright Matthew Freeman as we talk about where does Star Wars go after Ahsoka. We'll see you next time. Say goodbye, Paul.
Goodbye, Paul.